Okay, I won't say it this time, but welcome back, and it is a beautiful day in Arizona. Now that I've got the Jeep to the point where I know I can drive it if I have to, but now that I've got that there, let's get back to this. I've got a little bit of extra incentive here right now because a friend of mine went to a car show the other day, a local one, and what was there? A 67 lime gold 390 Mustang GTA. And while this isn't a GTA, this is all the same, everything other than the badges and the trim. And man, it was beautiful. So I want to get this. This car's, as long as I own it, this car's never going to be a complete restoration, but I can get it 3/4 of the way there, I think. So it's a Sunday. I kind of want to take it easy today, but what I really want to do, I want to get the rear end down on its tires because I want to jack the front end up because I want to do the freeze plugs and I want to make 100% sure the thing doesn't fall on me. So I have put the wheels back on and I have a chock behind the back wheel and I have taken the jack stands out from under the back so the tires are on the ground and I have jacked it up enough with the off-road jack to slide the ramps under it, and I have a jack stand under that, and the parking brake is on, so I feel that it's reasonably safe for me to get under and push and shove on without it killing me. Trying to drain the radiator, but that radiator drain is absolutely under no circumstances going to turn, and I do not want to break the radiator. So I think I'm just going to slide under it on my new creeper over there, which I think after doing this job I am going to do a review on and see if I can't find the block drain plug. Okay, I found a block drain plug right there. I'm going to guess and say that's 3/8. So quick update, this is going every bit as smoothly as I had expected it to. The block drain plug on the driver's side will not turn, and I mean it is not turning at all. And the block drain plug on the passenger side, somebody has already rounded it off. And, you know, that somebody may very well have been me, but I'm just going to have to pop the freeze plug, one of the freeze plugs out and let it drain through that. It's not the end of the world. I'll probably get doused with coolant, which I hate, but... Well, I got that front driver's side freeze plug tapped sideways, actually without getting completely drenched in coolant, too. Shockingly enough. So here's the freeze plug I just pulled out of that. Hey, that's where it came out. I don't know if you can see that. Hard to get the light and the camera on it at the same time, and I know the light's flickering. That's where it came out. The real problem is that motor mount. Not only am I going to have to pull that cross bolt to that motor mount, I'm going to have to pull the entire motor mount, and I may have to pull the bracket off the engine. So it's the next morning, and I got up bright and early, and I had the brilliant idea of, let's make a tool to tap those freeze plugs in place. Normally, I just use a block of wood and a hammer, but I am so limited on space and angles in there that I thought maybe a tool might be handy. And after about an hour of making chips in a giant mess, which I have since cleaned up, I realized that the only thing I was accomplishing was avoiding crawling back under that car. So I went back in, and in the space of 15 or 20 minutes, I got Infusion 360, and I made this little thing out of plastic. And will it survive one use? I hope so, because I can print as many of them as I want. They take 7 minutes to print on the FlashForge A5M. And here is the freeze plug. So they sit in there. That keeps it nice and centered. There's a lip, don't know if you can see it, but there's a lip that's going to put it 1 millimeter below the surface of the block, and I can whack on it there, and hopefully it'll survive long enough for at least me to get that started in straight. All right, I guess I'm done procrastinating. Let's see how much of this I can take. So my goal for the morning, to get the cross bolts out of the motor mounts, to get the motor lifted up and see if I can't get access to the freeze plugs that are behind the motor mounts. I really don't want to do this, but there ain't nobody else but me, so let's get to it. Well, after what seems like about 2 hours worth of work, It probably wasn't, but I don't have my watch or a phone out here right now. But what feels like 2 hours worth of work, I finally had to pull this cross member out. Then I had to pull the motor mount and the motor mount plate off of each side in order to be able to see that freeze plug that's behind the motor mount plate. And the motor mounts themselves weren't that tough, except you got to lift the engine up quite high to get them to come off. It'd be great if you could pull the motor mount and the motor mount plate off at the same time, but you can't, because the bolts that hold the motor mount on, or motor mount plate, I'm going to get sick of saying this, the bolts that hold the motor mount plate on are behind the motor mount. So you have to lift it up fairly high to get the motor mount out, and then one of these bolts, this one up there, is it that one up there? One of them is really difficult to get onto, and I had to get an old school chrome wobbly to get up in there, because my impact wobblies don't wobble enough. Man, but now I finally think I have, if I can get the flashlight to turn on, I finally think I have access to get that motor mount. I got motor mount on my brain. To get that freeze plug that's behind the motor mount in and out of there. It's actually a much straighter shot from here, but it's hard for me to get back in there right now because I got this damn big off-road jack up there to lift the engine up. And the reason I did that is because the regular floor jack is at the height of its extension to do that. I may put the regular floor jack back and see if I can temporarily support the engine at the bell housing, just so I can have room under here to work. Not sure how well that's going to work. These engines are really heavy. Rolling around on this concrete because, once again, the creeper has proven to be nearly worthless for me. And I can't really blame the creeper on that. I tend to like to work on my side under a car. I don't know why, but working flat on my back just does not seem to work out. And anytime I try and get on my side on a creeper, it just shoots out from under me like a watermelon seed between your fingers. Honestly, I'm beat up enough. I think I'm going to clean up and call it a day and come back out tomorrow, and we'll get those other freeze plugs out of there. I'll have to get the starter out, but then we can try and get the new freeze plugs in. And I'm just having to take this job in small bites, partially because it's beating me up a lot, and partially because it is so much not fun that it's difficult to force myself to continue. And fortunately, I have other things I can go do. So see you tomorrow. Turned out to be not the next day, but the day after the next day before I got out here again. Today, I'm going to try and get the three freeze plugs on the driver's side done, because I have access to those now. So all I do is have to pop the middle one out. The front one's out, middle one's not out, and the rear one's part way out. Pop those out, get cleaned up, put the new ones in, and then I can move on to the other side. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but I got all three of those freeze plugs out now, and I've dug as much of the loose corrosion that was in there that I could, and I think I'm wearing at least half of what you're seeing on the floor. And I got them cleaned up reasonably well. Let me see if I can get you up in there. This would be a sucky job on a rack. Doing it on the floor just makes it that much worse. There's the front one there. Not sure how well they're trying to keep it out of the shadow. And then here are the two in the back. And that is, I can't honestly tell whether you can see any of that or not. All right, I've been trying for well over an hour now, trying to get that one freeze plug, probably one of the easiest ones to get to, trying to get it in. And I have to admit, I can't. I have tried a bunch of different tools. I've 3D printed tools, I've made tools, I've used sockets. And the fact that you can't get a straight angle at it, that you have to tap it at an angle, I'm just finding it to be utterly impossible. You tap one side down, the other side comes up. You can't, even if you go in with a socket, you can't get a straight shot at it. You're always on one side or the other. And of course, if you cut something in an angle like I did that square tube, then you're pounding it in one direction or another as much as you're pushing it down. And I'm not liking how it's going. And I'm really thinking I'm going to have to use an expandable plug. You're probably asking what my next false move is. Well, you're looking at my freezer, one of my freezers. We have 2 refrigerators that have freezers and 1 dedicated freezer. And believe it or not, this is the oldest one of the bunch, and it's got the coldest freezer. At its coldest point, it is -11, -13 degrees Fahrenheit. So what I have done is what did I do with them? There they are. I have put my freeze plugs in here, and I made a tool. Here's the tool here. And what I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do is put one of these freezing cold plugs on the tool, which they're so small now they won't fit on the tool. But put that on there and use the tool to shove it in, and I'm going to heat the block with a heat gun. And hopefully they'll just go in that way, because if they don't, oh, there it went on. If they don't, my only option at that point, or my next option, is dry ice, and my local grocery store does carry dry ice. I realize that this is a giant block of cast iron, and I'm probably not going to have any huge effect, but even warming it up should help. So I'm going to keep this on it for maybe 10 minutes or so. All right, let's do it. All right, I got my cold freeze plug, my cold tool. I'm not holding it in my fingers. I don't want to warm it up. And let's see what happens. I smeared it with goo. I can't tell a thing. So I'm just going to hold it up there until it warms up, and I'm going to hope that went in. I just came back out after about 10 minutes. Let's pull that off of there and see what happens. Holy crap. No, it's not completely in. Anything up there to hit it. Yeah, that just knocked it sideways. It just came back out. Shoot. Well, hell. Okay, well, next step is dry ice. I get the feeling this just isn't even going to work with dry ice, but I'm going to try it before I do anything else. I don't know, maybe another -100 degrees will make it small enough to drop in there, because it's that or it's the neoprene expandables, because I ain't pulling the motor out. All right, see you in the morning with some dry ice. I think I'm going to have to take a break from this project for a bit. It is really beating me up. I had planned on trying dry ice, and I ran down to the grocery store where I normally buy dry ice. You can buy small amounts for a couple of bucks. And I found out, and you'd think I'd know this, that they don't carry dry ice in the middle of winter. Just, had my brain been functioning properly, I would have known that, but I didn't. Yes, I could probably still drive 25 miles into some supply house in Phoenix and buy a large block of it for God knows what they charge for it. But, and if I thought it would work, I would do it. But I actually really don't think it will. I still don't think it can shrink them enough to get those in there. So what I have done is I have ordered the expandable neoprene plugs, which I would still really like not to use. I don't know why I'm so against them. I put one in a Ford F-100 I had years ago, and it lasted, it lasted till I sold the truck 4 or 5 years later, so I don't know why I have such a huge objection to them. I may wind up using them, I don't know. I also ordered the special tool, you know, with the ball end and the long curved or long part you tap on that has the dog leg in the middle of it. I'm going to try that to put the regular ones in, and if that doesn't work, I'm just going to go ahead and use the expandable neoprene plugs and move on. But in the meantime, like I say, I am physically and mentally exhausted of this project. It has really put a crimp in my plans. I was hoping to be driving this car at this point. or at least have it running and drivable. But the leaky freeze plugs or core plugs, go ahead and give me a hard time about that if you want. I don't really care. But I have other projects I think I'm going to take a break of this one and move on to. I have a fuel pressure regulator for the CJ7, which I want to get in before I make an attempt to tune that properly, because yeah, I know it could be putting out 5 to 7 psi, and that's too much for a Weber. And I also have another wideband O2 sensor, since the one from AEM died, and apparently their 5-year warranty isn't very good. And I didn't buy it directly from AEM, you know, in their defense, and I have not contacted them because I think they're probably going to told me since I didn't buy it from them, they're not going to warranty it, and I don't blame them. So I did buy another one, a different brand, a lesser expensive one this time, but it does seem to function, and I'm going to start using that. So anyway, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm just going to clean my mess up and kind of come back in a week or 10 days or so, and hopefully I'll have a better attitude toward it, and we'll get this done. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.